First of all, I agree with the leader, the legislative leader. I think he's laid out a guideline for the country that seems to me there's nothing else for me to say, first of all. But I think, I said this yesterday at the Mayor's Forum, that I think the city of Akron, in many ways, as I listened to people talk about Slovenia, we went through a similar type of problem and similar era, if you will. We had thought of ourselves as sort of invincible in a way. We had the 4 major rubber companies, people were working, all you had to do was get through school, sometimes not even get through high school. You could go in and with your brawn and strength build tires and do things that we shipped all over the world, and suddenly the world changed. Many of those jobs moving to southern states and other places, and we had to reinvent ourselves and look at ourselves, and we had the same problem, not having an optimistic outlook, and pessimism would be a good way to describe. I think most people thought Akron was just going to dry up and wash away, and many of us had to really change that attitude, and it's one of the most difficult things. When I first became mayor 26 years ago, it is exactly what I identified as the #1 problem, our own attitude. We had a defeatist attitude because we saw this negativity. But you have to start with a group of people to start taking action, and you can't wait for everyone, because everyone in Akron is not on board, so to speak. I went through an election last year, and they argued that I shouldn't be traveling to places like Slovenia. You know, why would you go there? Why would a mayor not just sit in his office and wait for businesses and people to come to us? Well, that's not the world, as all of you understand. You had indicated the consistency, and I think if I were to go down through a list, and I've been asked by the State Department and others to help give some advice, and I always tell people I learn more when I go to another location, I think, than what I give. So I'm not here to preach or to lecture or to say what we've done is right. But the first thing that the business community needs to see is consistency. And you said it right away, that when they invest, or if they're thinking about making an investment, that they know, just like other businesses, that if they do A and B and C, they get the same result that everyone else gets. If it is a system that is inconsistent, there's no way to know for certain that they make that investment and they're going to get something out of that is consistent with what other business outcomes. They're not going to invest here, and I think that's a basic format from every system that I'm aware of that's successful over a sustainable period of time. I want to address this, though, because I think it's important, and we found in the chamber, I appreciate very much the invitation to join with you, because again, first of all, this wonderful city, I'm willing to come back and at no charge.
Please do, yeah.
Anytime you'd like to listen. But the issue of leadership, and we have a strong chamber, but it's made up of many, many people and organizations and a regional. And what we found was we needed the core leadership group of business people, the CEOs in a community. They are already heavily invested. The larger the company, the more employees, the more investment you have here, you have more of a stake in Slovenia, Ljubljana, whatever your area of responsibility. And the small group of leaders that we formed, we call it Akron Tomorrow, but it's a group of about 20 top CEOs that brought in the mayor of Akron, the Summit County executive, the school superintendent, and the university president. Not exactly the high-level institute that you've talked about, institution, but it was the same sort of thought process, that bringing those top leaders together to help forge that plan and put support behind something when it's really important, whether it's a school levy or an expansion of the university, things that were important to us. That top-level leadership was vitally important to changing Akron in the early days. And then there's another level. And I didn't do my homework, I guess, to find out whether you have this here. But many communities in the United States found that over the years, with the big companies that ran our world almost, they had leaders, and when those companies started moving and you have smaller companies, hundreds of thousands of them, that really is the backbone of our economy, the leadership level that goes down to 1,000 different people now is much more difficult to sort of corral. One of the things that helped us develop leadership is that we have a leadership Akron, and if you Google that, you'll see leadership communities all over the city, all over the country in the United States have this emerging leaders. And what it is a network, and they spend one day a month for about 8 months, and they learn more about the community, they learn more about leadership skills, they bring in top speakers, and it is almost sort of producing, like you do in any education system, your future leaders by teaching them more about leadership principles and teaching them more about the community. And lastly, and maybe most importantly, they create a network of people who know how to get things done. Whether it's an NGO that knows the top CEO because 8 years ago they served together in the Leadership Akron program, and it is a wonderful way of teaching leadership skills in a younger level of people in your community that pays off, I think, greatly in years to come. The only thing I can tell you in the United States, there's a great movement about place and creating place. And you have one of the most beautiful places here in the world, and you also have the great location in many ways. I joked around that people forget about Akron in the Midwest because they know the coast and they forget us. You're between Greece, which we know well, and United States and Italy, but that makes you a great location for a number of things that relate to both of those areas, as well, obviously, as other parts to Europe. So the beautiful space and place that you have, as well as the location, I think is for business an attractive place that you can market.